debut, Jarno Uppbeat wins at Spa.
It's Martinez in Montreal. David beats Goliath.
It's a true underdog story. John Evans wins at Mexico.
And it's Super Sam Corby who takes the PlayStation Championship.
FRA Ronhard takes his first WOR Championship. He is your Xbox champion.
And Jake Benham is a two-time WOR champion.
Stop it! Around the outside operated line, shut up! His contact again, Ronhard is around.
Melanie, surely is going to win here at Abu Dhabi. He does!
15 races across 5 continents. From Brazil to Belgium and Bahrain to Britain. Soon this story starts. Across 3 platforms, hundreds will begin the quest. The quest in search of glory and the right to be called a WOR champion. Lights out, and we're racing in Season 12.
Hello everybody and welcome along to WOR World Online Racing League. This is Season 12 and the PC Tier 2 drivers will be heading to the Sochi Autodrome for the Russian Grand Prix, a track where it's hosted the Winter Olympics. We are at Beijing at the Winter Olympics this week as well, so what a tradition that we're here in Russia. My name is Jess Ball, one of your commentators for this evening. Joining me in the commentary box for tonight and for the rest of the season is someone who needs no introduction. He's made a transition from PlayStation of WOR to PC. It is, of course, Mr. Luke Everett. Luke, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, Jess. Good evening to you. Good evening to everyone that is watching at home. Really looking forward to tonight. Russia, I feel, falls into the category alongside many tracks as a circuit that isn't the greatest in real life, but always seems to provide some good action on the F1 game.
Definitely. I have to say, a lot of people do not like this track in terms of the penalties and stuff like that, but it could be very, very rewarding for some drivers if they get it right with no penalties. So last week we were at Imola, where we saw Lenny Pepinter take his first win of the season, which put him to the top of the championship. He's not here tonight though, because he's racing in the top tier at WOR, so best of luck to him. Also, Leroy Brown and Jack are also making their Tier 1 debuts this season, so good luck to them as well. And we saw Morgan Bull, who was the championship leader before going in to Imola. He didn't score any points last week. He messed up the strategy. So good chance for Morgan Bull to really capitalise on Lenny not being here. But he didn't really capitalise that on last week, didn't he? But Lenny, good performance and really deserved that Tier 1 promotion.
Yeah, certainly. He's put in some good performances so far. Pole position first time out at Belgium, last time at Imola, obviously taking the victory, so he's done a great job. And yeah, it is a chance for, obviously tonight, for Morgan, for Chandler, for Drake, other drivers that are just going to get an opportunity to see what they can do here. And at the end of the season, maybe just missing that one race could be crucial for Lenny.
Yes, it can. So we are going to head into qualifying, and it is an interesting qualifying at the moment. We were just talking about it just now about the weather, but it is going to be a wet qualifying session. It is intermediate tyres at the moment on the car, so as it stands, the drivers will probably have free tyre choice going into the race unless it dries out. We got Chandler, who's one of the first drivers to set a lap. He currently finished P2 in the race last week. He wasn't really expecting it after moving from the Xbox side to the PC side. Quite a lot of Xbox drivers did that in the past. Ronhard making his PC debut in PC tonight as well in Tier 1. It's great to see the guys transitioned from the console to the PC, just doing ever so well as well. Also, another person making his debut in Tier 2 tonight is our current Tier 3 championship leader, Mastro Hoffi. He is in the Alfa Romeo as well, currently leading the championship by 3 points as well. Bit of a tough task for him to fill in for a higher tier, but the coordinators knew he could do it, and we'll see how well he fares around this tough group of drivers. But if he doesn't do well tonight, at least he gets to do it all over again when Tier 3 visits later on in the week.
Yeah, for himself and I believe Harlan Marquis as well, who's reserving in the Aston Martin. It's basically a free hit for them. They've got a chance to do as well as they possibly can and see what kind of performance they can put in. Probably would have wanted a nice, straightforward, dry session, but unfortunately for them, they've got similar conditions to what we saw, of course, in real-life qualifying in 2021 here at Russia, where Lando Norris took pole.
Yes, it's one of the few races on the calendar not to be impacted by the coronavirus pandemic back in 2020, and Lando Norris, unfortunately. It was really, really sad, actually, because we both wanted to see Lando Norris take the victory, but unfortunately, he did not, which was a bit of a shame, not gonna lie, but at least, hopefully, people will not follow that mistake this time around. As our current Tier 3 Championship leader, Harlan Marquez, I got it mixed the wrong way around, I do apologise, he's about to start, well, he just started his lap, looking very, very tidy so far. It looks quite slippier in the wet and much more understeery as well. The long straights, even though there's long straights, overtaking isn't quite easy around this track, especially in the rain. So they're going to hope the rain doesn't fall down any harder anytime soon, as you're passing the stadium where the Olympics was held as well, of course. And it's a little bit slidey heading towards the chicane of, I think it's turn 10, and heading towards turn 11. Of course, this will be a DRS zone. No DRS zone in the wet, so they're just going to be relying on pure pace alone as they're going to be heading towards the heavy braking zone of turn 12 and turn 13. Very easy to run wide here as he clips the right-hand curb just a little bit as well. And obviously, since it's his first time in Tier 2, expect him to be lower down the grid for the time being, but as long as he gets a decent lap time on the board, it still counts, as Taz has retired on the session. I believe he's got a qualifying ban. I'm not entirely sure. Actually, no, he doesn't. So I don't know why. He possibly retired or something, as Jane has set the fastest time on the board. Then Pezo, two of our reserve drivers, who are riding on board with Harlem as he comes across the line. 143.891 puts him into P2. Not too shabby as well. Chandler comes across the line in P3, and Drake Dempsey, who was very close to winning the race last time out, unfortunately he got caught out in an incident. He's currently on provisional pole. Times are beginning to tumble.
Yeah, and at least they're getting times in as well. It's been a really bad first few minutes to qualifying. A bit like we saw in real life, actually, for the Mercedes. Marcus Towell has tapped the wall, I believe, coming through turn number 7. And Taz, it was a crash coming through that long left-hander at turn number 3. His car was on the right-hand side, believe missing a front right wheel. So he's had a very tricky start. He'll be qualifying, as things stand at the moment, stone dead last. So even though there are big gaps throughout the field, you can see Harlan's time now 1.8 seconds off pole position. Hey, at least you've got a time in, at least you can improve and maybe push a bit more on these laps, and we will see drivers, as we always do in wet conditions, they'll carry on for multiple laps, the tyres don't wear as much, and it just gives you an opportunity to feel where the grip is out on track.
Yeah, because they don't have enough intermediate tyres for the race if it is a wet session in the race as well. So they really pretty much got to use more than one lap on them as Dave Wombers comes across the line into P12. There's a few drivers going to come across the line for their second runs. I believe it's an AlphaTauri up next. That is not Hazif. He's going through turns 8 now. We've got Pesa, who's unfortunately invalidated. And as we just alluded to just now, penalties can be a quite big thing around this track, and also invalidations in qualifying. So it's very important to get your banker laps in around this track. A few people in Tier 1 tonight were struggling to get their banker laps in, so Peso has got a lot of work to do. At least he's set a lap time on the board. What can Harlem do across the line? P2. That is pretty good. 2 attempts shy of visual pole position, but Chandler Saiter tops the timing sheet. The first man into the 141s. We're starting to see more people on a few extra laps. We've got a Ferrari driver who's about to cross the line. The Ferrari driver did get some points on the board last week, which was great to see, as Hazip has unfortunately invalidated. Mark can't improve on his time, only managing in P13. So that is pretty good so far, but if the conditions improve, it's crucial that they're spending a lot of time on the track as possible, because you never know when the track could be its most grippiest.
Yeah, we don't know what the conditions are going to be like. Is it going to get drier throughout this qualifying session? Is it going to get wetter? And could these be the best laps that we see throughout the entire session? But a few drivers have come into the pits. There were quite a few invalidations, like you said, Jess, in the race that could really be crucial. Assuming that we get a dry race, it is a very straightforward strategy. Soft to medium, it's a long pit lane, so if you have to do a second stop for damage, really is going to ruin your chances. And the track, it doesn't really punish you at any point for running off track in terms of timing. That's why it's so tempting to just throw it a bit harder into the corners. If you get it slightly wrong, at least you do have that bit of a recovery. I think we'll be seeing quite a few track limit penalties around here tonight, but again, we'll just have to wait and see how things are going. I'm trying to see if anyone's improving at the moment. Drake Dempsey has gone fastest of anyone in the middle sector. He's got Marcus Towler just in front of him on an outlap, but this could be a good performance from the McLaren driver, and they are leading the Constructors' Championship at the moment. 46 points for McLaren. Mercedes are second on 37 points, and then it's Williams, Haas, Ferrari, Alfa Romeo, Aston Martin, Alpine, AlphaTauri, and then Red Bull at the bottom with just one solitary point at this moment in time.
Yes, Morgan Bull with that win in Belgium hasn't got any points since. Drake Dempsey comes across the line and is able to show that he has good pace around here in P1. Don't forget, in his debut in WOR into the PC side, he managed to get a win in Abu Dhabi. Well, it looked like it was straightforward. It definitely wasn't. He had loads of spins and he was able to have some bit of an issues, but he still went on to win due to the amount of safety cars as Drake Dempsey almost gone off where Lando Norris did. Heading in towards turn one, we got David, who's just finished his lap as well. We got Camille, who's also reserved on his out lap as well. We got Joshua Penn, I think that's how you say it. He is coming to start his lap as well. A few drivers reserving from Tier 3 because there was a few drivers reserving from Tier 2 onto Tier 1. So, of course, we will needed to promote some drivers. That's the beauty of having Tier 3 drivers race on a different night. We could just nick some drivers if we need to and see if they can get a chance to do as Joshua had a big slide there in towards the end of Sector 1 and he almost collected, I think, the AlphaTauri driver and the Alfa Romeo driver as well. So he will get to go again, but his tide temperatures are not going to be ever so good here as well. So, yeah, he's going to lose so much time, and I'm almost certain he's going to be going into the pits. I do believe Jonas Martins will be going into the pits as well. No, but he's not. He's across the line, actually. 1:42.3 puts him in P6. He hasn't finished a race this season. He was classified, though, last week due to him crashing on the final lap, so... but he hasn't scored any points. But it looked like he was on for points in Imola, but he just got very, very unlucky. And then Belgium, he crashed doing a George Russell in no name as he just invalidated his next run, so he won't be going again. So Drake Dempsey on top of the timing sheets. He's currently sitting fourth in the standings, with his teammate Morgan Bull in second in the standings on 25 points. Chandler Saiter on 24. So those three drivers are so close in the standings, it could go either way. And last season's champion, JC, he's not too far either, but he's just invalidated his run.
Yeah, so I think we'll be seeing him come into the pits now, put on a fresh set of intermediate tyres. It is still looking like it is going to be intermediate tyres all the way through the session. And as we were talking before, with Lenny not being here tonight, it's a big chance for Morgan, Chandler, Drake. It would have been for Jack and Levi if they were here. Marcus Towler, even as a reserve driver, he's down in 12th place at the moment, but he has got a chance of tying for the lead of the championship at the end of the night if things go his way, and he is improving at the moment, although he's taking some pretty wild lines on his way to improving. A lot of drivers finding it tricky in these conditions, and I think as we just said that's Fritzen getting it wrong on his way out of the pits. Turn number 2, I think the entire Formula 1 world, the entire motor racing world is in agreement. Something needs to be done about Russia turn number 2. The runoff area just does not work. You get crazy things happening, like Sainz trying to go flat through the wall last year, crashing, and obviously Alonso on the first lap. Rather genius last year, perhaps not in the spirit of the regulations, but hey, it said go through the bollards. I don't think the FIA quite expected anyone to go through the bollards doing about 150 miles per hour, though.
Yeah, definitely. I think we saw Roman Grosjean went off there as well. And since there aren't any gravel traps to swallow your car if you go off the circuit, it's very important to obviously keep to the track limits as well, because it is quite narrow. It is technically classed as a street circuit, but in hindsight, it's not really as well. And we have been told by the stewards that they are keeping a close eye on certain parts of the racetrack, because obviously it's so easy to get penalties. Turn 18. Drivers could extend the final corner in turn 18, so they're going to keep an eye on that. Any driver caught doing this will receive a qualifying ban for the next event. And of course, we've got turns 4, 5 and 10, where people could extend as well. If they go 4 wheels off the curb, not the white line, you must abandon your lap, otherwise they will receive a qualifying ban for the next event. So those are the 4 corners that the stewards will be keeping an eye on tonight, as Morgan Bull is about to start his lap. Is anyone behind him on the lap? We could see one of the Alfa Romeo is about to start their laps as well. And of course, we've got the 2 Red Bulls on laps as well. We'll see what they do. Joshua, the only driver not to set a representative time, but he's going to stay that way because I think he is just invalidated, and he goes into the pit. So he doesn't seem very happy at the moment, but it's a bit of a learning curve being in a higher tier, so it is to be expected. But very impressed with Harlan Marquez on his tier 2 debut. P5 in that Aston Martin. He should be in tier 2 more often.
Yeah, he's doing a pretty good job at the moment. He's carrying on the... I'm not sure if he's carrying on this lap. He is slightly up in that middle sector as well, so he doesn't need to find a lot to get himself up into third on the grid. He's only 12 thousandths of a second off the reigning Tier 2 champion as Marquez comes towards the finish line, loses out in the final sector, and goes into 5th place in the end. And he's got plenty of ERS to be able to carry on another lap. And it's interesting that you talked about the track limit through the final corner, as I think Camille is going through them now. Camille Stakova. If you invalidate coming through turn number 18, that's your next lap ruined as well. So it is really crucial that you nail that final corner. And the Red Bull driver definitely has. He goes up into 3rd place, but Drake and Chandler just looking, the Americans looking like they're on a different league from everyone else at the moment. Drake especially, nearly 7/10 of a second faster than Chandler.
Yes, Drake came from PlayStation, Chandler came from Xbox, so it's a console 1-2 at the moment, and I can't remember if Camille is will came from console or whether he comes straight to PC, but the console drivers that came from last season are doing a pretty good job out there in the top 5, which just goes to show even though there's some sort of difference between console and PC on this game, it's not that many as well, and it just shows that they adapt to the different platforms so quickly. But you got to, if you want to go into the F1 Esports Pro Series, because you have to use a PC and a wheel. So good transition already. Had a few more people have invalidated their laps. We've got an Alfa Romeo, or Fritzen, I believe, going to just cross the line, and he hasn't improved on his time, so he'll be going again. We've got the AlphaTauris on laps as well. Hadib is in the pit, so no, he's not on laps. It is Peso who was on a lap, and he's 80 tenths down in that final sector, so he'll definitely be going again. No one seems to be challenging the top 2 right now as well, but I have to say, with the points so close that it is, anyone could be leading the championship going into this race. I have to say, obviously, Chandler, well, he needs a podium. Marcus Tau could potentially get a podium as well. Morgan Bull only needs to finish in the top 4 tonight to get the lead of the championship from the likes of Lenny Papinta, who's not here tonight. But there could be other drivers that could score higher than him and could beat Morgan Bull in the championship. It's a calm before the storm, and I can't call who's going to get pole position. The times are so close, even in these wet conditions. Usually in the wet conditions, the gaps are more spread out. This is kind of like a dry session. I'm just looking at the gaps now. It's around about 9/10 between the top 3, but everywhere else between 4th and 14th is within 8/10. So it's kind of like the top 2 and then the best of the rest situation.
I mean, between 4th and 9th place, you've got 6 cars there within 81 thousandths of a second of each other. It's incredibly close. I thought Maestro Hoffi, he was looking really good on his lap, just made a slight mistake through the final few corners, and that's the difference between him probably being on the 2nd row of the grid to now actually being down into 10th place as Morgan Ball's come across the line and made it a McLaren 1-2 with 2 minutes 15 seconds remaining, but still 6.5 tenths of a second slower than his teammate. I'll see if anyone else looks like they're improving on a lap at the moment. That's Fritzen, who's got himself up on the 2nd run on his tyres, just behind his fellow Shazoo driver, Camille. That's a 142.177 for the Alfa Romeo driver. So a lot of these reserve drivers putting in some pretty good performances tonight, showing that they, maybe deserve a bit more of a full-time seat, if anyone does get a permanent job in one of the higher tiers. But it doesn't look like there's anyone really lighting up the timing screens too much at this moment in time.
Nope, they're not, but it is 1 minute and 40 seconds left to go. Maybe they're just going to be on reconnaissance laps, just get a feel for the track before they go on one final lap, or maybe burn some fuel as well. We've seen a lot of that in Tier 1 tonight as well, into Q1. The ones that were in a danger set a few good fuel laps, and then after that, then they were on push laps as well. But there is a danger that you could really be on the cusp of burning your tyres too much. If someone's binned it, that's Joshua Pinner in 17th position. He'll be starting no higher than that. At least he's not starting last because Taz retired before him. So that is not good for him, as he's going to have a miraculous recovery to try and get from 17th all the way to near the top. But we'll see what he could do. A minute left to go as well. We'll see what Morgan Bull could do on 2 laps on those intermediate tyres. I do believe it will be a dry session, so we'll see how they go. They can push as much as they want because they won't be using it in the race. They will be on fresh dry tyres as Morgan Bull, I think, is backing off a little bit. He's going to go on one final lap. I did see a Williams driver go past. It wasn't Chandler. It was, I believe, it's hard to tell. It was Dave Rombers, actually. P4 as well in the other Williams car. Looking good for him as well. We got two of the McLaren drivers looking good as well on their lap. Straight, though, a little bit down. So, again, he's doing the same as Chandler did. Backed off on one of his first laps, and on his final lap, he is definitely pushing well. He's pole at the moment by some considerable margin, but you never know. The track could get better, so he's really got to push as if his life depends on it. It's the final few laps of qualifying. Jonas Martins, P2 on the timings victory. I was not expecting that. Pole could be challenged after all.
Yeah, and the first two sectors of the lap didn't look like anything special there for Jonah. As checkered flag is out, Chandler Sater comes across the line. He gets himself onto the front row of the grid. But yeah, definitely didn't look like a fantastic lap from Jonah for the first 2/3. But then final sector, and about half a second. So a really good performance from him. Just trying to see if we've got anyone who's really close to getting towards the end of their lap now. Marcus Towler's put his car in 10th position. But a lot of these drivers, obviously, as we would have expected, wanting to leave it as late as possible. Maestro Hoffi doesn't look like he's going to be able to improve marks in 15th and 16th actually now for the two Ferraris. And Mark's not going to improve, and neither is Davidek, as he has invalidated. Morgan Ball's just coming through the second sector point now. He's 1.5 tenths up, so he's going to need to go some if he wants to get himself onto the front row of the grid.
Yeah, he does. The final laps are coming through then. So we've got, I think, a Ferrari that's gone into the pit lane. We've got JC coming across the line. He puts himself into P4 then. So we'll see what the Alpine cars, the rest of the Alpine cars do as well. His teammate Jane, who is reserved tonight, he's going through the second sector. He's 2 tenths up on his sector 2 time, so looking good as well. We got the Ferraris, they can't improve, they stay 15th and 16th. Morgan Bull only manages in second position, and wow, 1:41 flat for Drake Dempsey. He's been the class of his own in qualifying, 4 tenths quicker than his teammates. McLaren 1-2, where's the first time we've seen that? Monza last year in real life in the race. Jonas Martins is slowing down. Let's see if Fritzen's on a lap. He's backed off as well. So that is the end of qualifying. Drake Dempsey is on pole position. Morgan Bull in second. Chandler Saiter in third position. And I have to say, good job from the McLaren drivers to make it a 1-2.
Yeah, certainly. Just Morgan getting it at the end of the session by 5 thousandths of a second from Chandler. I've got to say, a great lap from Pesso at the end as well on 4-lap old intermediate tyres. He got himself up from about 13th, 14th on the grid, up into 5th. And obviously with everyone having a fresh choice of tyres for the race, presuming that it will start dry, and I imagine the rate that they've been going through the intermediates, we aren't going to see the rain. You've lost that alternate strategy tyre advantage, which isn't normally as big around here as it is at some other circuits. We've already said the tyres don't wear out whatsoever. It is a straightforward soft-medium strategy. And if there's a safety car on lap 1, you could easily put on a set of mediums and get to the end of the race. So Drake and Morgan, though, they'll be hoping that there isn't a safety car. They'll be hoping that the pace they've got in the wet translates to what we expect to be a dry race.
Yes, we'll go through your qualifying results then as Drake Dempsey on the pole position, Morgan Bull in second, Chandler Saiter in third, Jonah Martins in fourth, Pesso fifth, JC sixth, Dave Rombers in seventh, Jane in eighth, Camille in ninth, Fritzen in 10th, Hazif in 11th, Marcus Tau in 12th, Harlem in 13th, Mastro 14th, David in 15th, Mark 16th, Joshua and Taz did not set representative lap times, and that is your grid for this evening then. So, the Russian Grand Prix. It's been a while since it's been on the WOR calendar. Season 9, actually. It was once on the WOR calendar. One of the longest streaks in WOR history as well. And it's just such an iconic track. Obviously, the host of the Winter Olympics, Singapore and Monaco, being the other 2 tracks that we don't see much of in the WOR calendar. So, great to see Russia making a return. So, let's have a look at the track then. 5.848 kilometres long, 18 turns, 6 to the left and 12 to the right. 2 DRS zones, 1 between turn 1 and 2, and 1 between turn 10 and 12. Plenty of opportunities for overtaking, and also a lot of chance to get penalties. Jay Benham was our last winner in season 9, and of course we had Sierra of season 7, and we're seeing a battle between Sierra, Pinecone and Shanaka Clay here at this moment in time, and it looked quite good actually, heading towards turn 2 and 3. It's very, very windy as well, so we'll see how this translates into the real life race here at WOR as well. It's looking quite tidy as well from the top 10 to try and qualify on the tyres that they want to as well. Just look at the power that they were getting into turn 4 as well. It was pretty decent. So we are about to get underway with the race, and contrasting to qualifying, it's a completely dry session, and it looks like they have a free choice of tyres. I don't know which one to go for, but because there's a more than likely opportunity for safety cars, I would go for the soft tyres, but there's only a few drivers by the looks of it that's going to be going on to the soft compounded tyres. I'm going to see who has gone on to the soft tyres. It is Drake Dempsey, the top 2. They're on softs. Jonah on the softs. Fritzen on the softs. Marcus Towell on the softs. So is Harlem, Mark, Joshua and Taz. I've done a few races around here in Russia. Usually starting on the softs is the best idea because there could be a chance of a safety car. Mediums technically could last most of the race as well. So if you get damage early on, you can go on to the mediums to the end quite comfortably, but if you start on the mediums, you have no other choice for a safety car to either stay out or go onto the hard tyres.
Yeah, of course, there is there's always the possibility, which I think if I was on a set of mediums and there was an early safety car, I'd come into the pits, put on a set of soft tyres, do one lap, then come back into the pits and put on a set of mediums, because that does count as a lap on that dry compound of tyre. Chandler Sater, lead car then on the medium tyres. He's going to have to watch out for Jonah behind him on that set of softs, but it's maybe not a bad idea, actually, because he will get the slipstream from the 2 McLarens in front of him, and that always gives you an advantage. Pole position at Russia sometimes is not the best place to be, but just because of how long that run is down towards the first corner, in a similar vein to Mexico, and we've seen what's happened with them many times in real life. So Drake and Morgan have got to make sure they get a good start here, otherwise they could be in a lot of trouble in the first few laps of this race. Those drivers that are further back starting on the soft tyres, they'll be hoping to do moves, of course. Drivers like Mark, Joshua Pinar and Taz, they've got to be hoping to try and make hay while the sun shines until the DRS gets activated, because once that gets done, it becomes a lot more difficult to overtake on this circuit.
Yes, indeed. So we're just waiting for the last few drivers to make their way on to the grid to start 27 laps of this Russian Grand Prix as well. Valtteri Bottas, Lewis Hamilton, it's Mercedes powered, pretty much Mercedes favoured track in the past as well. Will we see the 2 McLarens do something that Lando Norris didn't do last season in real life, and get a win for the McLaren team in the Russian Grand Prix? Or will we see a Mercedes car take the win? Or will we see someone different? Will we see Chandler get one better from last week and take the win? We will have to wait and see, as I think everyone is about to make their way onto the grid. It was just a bit of a hold going onto the grid. There's a few people trying to warm their tyres. Everyone, of course, had free tyre choice due to the fact that it was a wet qualifying session. So here we go then. The 5 red lights. And we are underway. Let's see what's a good start. Drake has a better start than Morgan Ball. Morgan's Ball has a terrific start as Chandler gets past him almost immediately. The Williams driver's looking quite good as well. There's huge contact in the background. My 3 cars either got damaged or out already, as there's more contact, as we had a spinner from Chandler Saiter from the McLarens as well. My, already chaos, and we're not even in lap 1, and we've already got a safety car. So penalties for Drake and Jonah, but I was not expecting a safety car to be that early. I was expecting it to be in, if you were in the bottom tier, not in tier 2. That was just chaotic start for us.
I mean, I'm just checking here. I don't even think they even made it round turn 2 to the first braking zone before the VSC gets activated, which is very strange indeed. And then obviously Chandler there just getting caught out. Drake cutting across him. That got Drake a 5-second penalty, and Jonah a sort of an innocent party and all of that. But yes, we now have got a full safety car. Whether we'll see any of the soft runners come into the pits, I think one of the Ferraris has definitely got damage, but I think that might have been Davidek actually missing part of his front wing, unless I was seeing things. It's a bit of a dark front wing on that Ferrari, but no, looks like both of them had got away. I'm not sure what happened there. I'm not sure what happened. Jane and Marcus Towler coming together, absolutely devastating, obviously, for both of them. But that's always your risk if you're stuck in the midfield. There's always that danger of things that could happen. We had a few supporters in the chat for Marcus Towler. I have a funny feeling that I might now be switching off. Didn't even make it past turn 1. Didn't even make it to the first braking zone. We are at the end of lap number 1. There's not a lot changing. Are we going to see any drivers coming to the pits? Yes. Out of those on the soft tyres at the front of the field, it's only Drake that stays out. And Morgan Ball and Jonah Martins are coming into the pits. They'll be on mediums until the end.
Yeah, they can do it, of course, due to the tyre depth being so low around this circuit. It's pretty much a no-brainer as well. So, and if you do have 5-second penalties from the pile-up at the start of the race, you do have a chance to pretty much remove that penalty in the pit stops. And Morgan Ball was the one that got collected as well. He has got front wing damage, so he had to repair that as well. And he got held up quite a bit from the Aston Martin drivers then. So Chandler Saito actually has gone off a strategy that I wasn't expecting actually. He's gone on to the hard compounded tyres. Now, I tried racing around Russia on the hard compounded tyres. It's just, there's no race pace at all. So Chandler Saito needs a miracle to actually have a chance to win this race on those hard tyres, because pretty much it could last the whole race, pretty much plus 3 or 4 laps. So I think he would probably regret that decision and may go on to the mediums later on in the race. But, you know, you never know. He could be seeing something he may not think that the hards could get to the end. But it's important that you do your research in tyre strategy and tyre lifespans as well, because that is how races can be won at the end of the day. That's why Morgan Bull last week did not get the win for McLaren, a second win. So, you know, we will see which strategy pays off today as well. And we'll keep an eye on the penalties as we go through as well. But Drake, has he done a big mistake by staying out? Same with Mark as well. He's also stayed out. And obviously the ones on the mediums, well, they had to stay out. They had no choice, because you don't really want to be going on the hards for the rest of the race, do you?
No, I think definitely if I was on a set of mediums, I would have stayed out. There must have been communication between Drake and Morgan must have said, look, I've got some damage. I need to come into the pits. Let me come in, and then obviously I can get that fixed straight away. And that's why Drake has stayed out and not served his 5-second penalty, because he will have to serve that obviously when he comes into the pits. He's currently revving his engine up quite a lot because, as I'm sure everyone watching is aware, there's no rich mix now on this game. The only way you can really burn fuel under a safety car, and he must have put some spare fuel in, is by revving the guts out of the engine. It does overheat it, but he'll have plenty of time to cool it down once things are more normal. I'm just trying to see if anyone's coming into the pits. Dazed Romber's actually coming in on this lap. So that is obviously deciding not to double stack behind his teammate, but I think if he'd have decided to double stack, he wouldn't lost as much time as he's about to now. He's going to drop a long way off the back of the order. So both Williams starting on a set of medium tyres, going on to a set of hards. Don't think I agree with this strategy, unless they're hoping that safety cars breed safety cars, which could well happen. We could get another one, and then they might get that opportunity to go back onto a set of mediums. But what was looking like a fairly promising qualifying for Williams, all of a sudden they're in a bit of trouble.
Yes, indeed. Both drivers going for exactly the same strategy as well. Dave Rombus did not want to lose time in that double stack, but to be fair, he probably lost even more time because everyone else got held up as well, and he would have probably been able to have gained from that potentially as well. He's got a long way and to try and recover to catch up to the back of the pack as well. The safety car will be coming in very, very shortly, but not yet because Dave Rombus will be catching up as well. But quite a few people benefited from that safety car as well, and the question is, will they be able to get the best restarts, and is the mediums a better tyre than the ones who stayed out on the soft compound tyres as well? I will be expecting the ones who are just pitted to breeze past the likes of obviously David, Maestro, Hazif, Camille, Pesso and JC, who stayed out on those medium tyres from the start as well. Don't forget Joshua, he was 17th on the grid. He's all the way up into 10th place. He undercutted massively on Jonah Martin and Morgan Bull because I believe he was the only Red Bull to come into the pits. For the likes of Morgan and Taz, and well, not Taz because his teammate retired, but for Morgan and Harlem and Fritzen, they had teammates pitting, so they had to double start and they lost so much time. So Joshua is looking pretty good, and he was the one who benefited from starting at the back of the grid. Maybe he just eased off towards the back because he avoided all the carnage. I don't think he got any damage because otherwise he would have been near where Taz was or where Harlan Marquez was. But this is going to be an intense first couple of laps after the safety car. We haven't even got racing going yet. We've just had a safety car and it is going to be in for another lap as it seems.
Yeah, we've had one braking zone in anger, I think, really, so far in this race. As there we go. Dave Rombus is doing the strategy that I suggested in qualifying. He's coming into the pits, getting rid of those set of hard tyres. Now he's going to come out on the mediums, which is what I was thinking that Chandler Slater might have done, his teammate. So Dave Rombus is coming into the pits for a set of the medium tyres. We've also seen Taz come in. He's going on to a second set of the mediums, so he will have to unless he did start on a set of the soft tyres, I don't know why he would have done that strategy, because I don't think he picked up any damage under the safety car. So there, that's a bit of a strange one from Taz to come in. Perfectly logical, though, from Days Ron. But that little loophole, you could say, in the rules, he's managed to fix that. Hopefully, though, they can catch up to the pack in time so we don't have another lap under the safety car, because that'll be... I don't know what the rubber lap under the safety car helps, actually, because these on the medium runners, we know they can get to the end nice and easily anyway, and those on the sets of soft tyres that have yet to pit, the top 8 drivers still having to pit, they're going to pit at some point anyway, so they're not too worried about tyre wear at this moment in time. I think this has stopped being a management race and has really quickly become a drive as fast as possible for, hopefully, the last 23 laps uninterrupted. Drake Dempsey, though, he's got to hope that he's got plenty of life in those soft tyres and that he can just get away from Jay, Pesso, Camille Stakova behind him. Otherwise, he's going to find it very difficult in the pit stops after he's had that 5-second penalty, because the runners behind him are going to be on softs.
I'm quite surprised, actually, Drake Dempsey hasn't come into the pits when everyone else did to serve his 5-second penalty like the others did. I wonder he wanted to get some clear action ahead already as well, but you have to serve your 5-second penalty regardless. The only time you can't serve your 5-second penalty is if you don't need to pit again. He does need to pit again because he hasn't pitted, so you will have to serve it at some point. So he's going to be losing a chunk of time. I do believe he's going to be behind his teammate when he comes out of the pits, or maybe even last place. So safety car is in this lap, so hopefully we can have some uninterrupted races for these drivers, so we can see Drake Dempsey trying to back the pack up as much as he can. Will we see a Magello start, or will we see him absolutely floor it? It is not a short run into the safety car restart. Actually, it is a short run to the safety car restart, so Jay can pretty much floor it any time from now, but you can't overtake until the start-finish line. So we'll see how Drake behaves. He's got JC right behind him as well. He's on the medium tyres, but he's on the more durable tyres as well. So we'll see which tyres are the best tyres to be on. So here we go then. Jay Dempsey has absolutely floored it in that final corner, as well as Taz has got a 10-second time penalty for some reason. I wonder if that will be investigated, because I don't think he went off the track massively. But already people's trying to make some moves. We've got a Red Bull trying to go side by side with the sister team of the AlphaTauri, and the AlphaTauri stays ahead. Pesso did a brilliant job as well. We got 2 of the Ferrari cars, one being Alfa Romeo, one being Ferrari, trying to make a move. Mark 313 gets past Maestro up into 6th place. We're seeing a lot of moves heading towards turn 3 as well. Heavy braking zone as well. Morgan Bull almost tried to get past Joshua, couldn't quite make it work either. Jonah Martins got past Joshua up into 10th place, so he's had a good restart as well. At least we're actually getting some racing underway as well. DRS won't be activated though until about lap 7, so they're just going to be relying on slipstream right now. So pretty decent start from everybody. It looks pretty clean. No chaos at the moment.
Yeah, an ideal start really for Drake Dempsey. It's always a bit difficult to get a restart. Seeing Chandler's just dropped down the order, had a bit of a slide coming through turn number 8 and 9, and that allowed Jonah to get ahead of him. So the Aston Martin is now the lead car of those that have pitted. That might be a bit of a gap to watch out for. They're already all slipstreaming and winding their way down the back straight, all those cars that have been into the pits. But further up the field, Drake, yeah, just an ideal restart for him. Jay trying to hang with him, but Pesso really struggling, really already dropping outside of that DRS range. It was a great move by Bark down the inside of Maestro Hoffy into turn number 2, taking full advantage of those soft tyres. And I think Morgan Ball's going to try and send one down the inside at turn number 17 on the Red Bull of Joshua Pinar, and that has not quite worked out. They made a bit of contact. They've both gone off the circuit, and that has just allowed Chandler and Jonah to break away ever so slightly. DRS, as he said, Jess, not until lap number 7, but Morgan already determined to get ahead of the Red Bull, because I think qualifying did suggest that he's got a lot more pace. And there you go, Joshua with a 5-second penalty, gaining a place via corner cutting, which seemed a bit harsh to me.
Yes, it does as well, because he didn't gain that much. To be fair, he absolutely backed off. So to be honest, I think he could get that removed if he's shown that he did not gain an advantage. So I have to say, he will probably be absolutely furious about that going in towards the end of the race. It's Morgan Bull. He is looking absolutely perfect in the McLaren car. He's actually definitely faster than Joshua as well, so he's probably keen to make the pass. Same with the likes of Jonas, trying to go for a move on David as well. Apart from that, not many people making any cheeky moves at the moment. So we'll keep an eye on Jonah. Using his DRS, using his overtakes. He's very, very keen to get past Ferrari, but the dirty air is not going to help him one bit. Heading towards the heavy braking zone then, and nope, he's not going to get past. What about Morgan Bull? Can he try and get past Joshua Pena? Nope, he does not. Morgan Bull stayed in 12th place. But meanwhile, we got a bit of contact. That is Mark that's gone for a spinneroonie down in P15 at the moment. So what a shame for him, and he has got damage, I think, on his Ferrari car. Has he gone sliding and he's almost hit the wire? Did he save that? I don't know, but luckily he reset the track. He didn't reset the track, so he's able to keep going. I'm almost certain his tyres are absolutely cooked. He will probably benefit going into the pits, which he does, and DRS will be activated then, so we'll keep an eye on the top two as JC is closing in ever so slightly on Drake Dempsey. So I wonder if we're at the crossover point already as Mark has come into the pits to retire from the session. So that is his day over. So we're already down to 15 drivers in this race. But the battles that we're having on track is absolutely amazing. Battle for the top two, battle for P6, battle for P9 and 10, and battle for potentially P11 as well. We got pretty much still 3 DRS trades going on here at the moment. And ideally, you wouldn't want to be the driver who doesn't have any DRS. So Drake has got to get a move on to try and defend.
Yeah, he has. He's actually doing a good job on his ERS management. He's got about 10% more than Jay at the moment, which is not what you would expect. Obviously, punching that McLaren-sized hole in the air. Jay's going to close in down the straight towards the braking zone here at turn number 13, but in the end, obviously, is too far back. Jonas quite a bit closer to Maestro there, when I thought for a second he was going to think about sending one up the inside. As Joshua Pina has gone very deep there into turn number 13, and that might give Morgan Ball a chance on the two.
Wow.
McLaren again making a bit of contact, and I wonder whether that's going to allow Harlem to just send one down the inside of the McLaren driver. The McLaren Morgan Ball, second in the championship, highest of anyone who is here tonight. He's finding it very difficult at the moment. It seems to be getting himself quite bullied off track at a few sections. He's now down into 12th place, where his teammate looks like he's got it in control at the moment. Himself and Jay are escaping. I'd say Jay, depending on how well these medium runners do further back, your likes of Jonah, who is just flying through the field now as he gets himself up into 6th place. I think Jay could be in a pretty good place on that fresh set of softs later on. Expect him to make plenty of moves in the final half of this race.
Yeah, as we're seeing people almost going free abreast there into turn number 2, as we're seeing Morgan Ball and Joshua Piner fight once again as well. Can Morgan Ball send a move as they make contact a little bit there? As Morgan has gone into a spin, as Joshua Piner has gone into a spin as well, and he got front wing damage. So Morgan Ball's day has gone from bad to worse, and same with Joshua as well, who started near the back. Well, the only way he could gain is up, but unfortunately, I think that will be investigated by the stewards. So Morgan Ball, at the moment, he's not going to get any points, neither is Josh. I wonder if Josh is going to be going to retire. I wonder if they'll call the safety cars. Jay-Z's going to try and send it up the right-hand side of Drake Dempsey. He couldn't quite make it work into turn 13 there. Jake holding his own at the moment on those soft tyres, which just shows that the delves between the softs and the mediums still favours the softs right now at the moment. But JC will come into his own in a few laps' time, and this is a very, very good battle between the pair of them. Don't forget, JC did win the championship last season in Tier 2, but it was quite close between himself and Primoz Mikalik as well, who were battling for the championship to the very, very end as well. But to be honest, he has been showing some good form, Jay. He's got some points last week, but I was expecting him to be podium territory, but at the moment he's showing what he could do as well. We got Hasib trying to make some moves there as well, with Pesa, the two AlphaTauris working together. Camille getting into 3rd place, as yes, to be expected. Joshua is out of the race. He has retired in the pits and decided to call it a day. So one of the Red Bull drivers out. 2 of the AlphaTauri, the sister teams, doing a lot better than the Red Bulls at the moment.
Yeah, they are. Pesso and Hasif, but of course Hasif, I believe, is a full-time driver. So in 5th place at the moment, it took Camille Stackover quite a few laps to actually get ahead of Pesso, who just did not look to have the pace. And you have got that 3.5 second gap back from Jay to the Red Bull in 3rd place. So it will be interesting to see now whether the Shizou driver can just slowly try and build that gap. But I don't expect him to close up to the back of the front too, although Jay is closing right up to the back of Drake Dempsey. He's going to have to go, well, the long way round, but he's going to have the racing line. He's going to be plenty clear enough, and that is Jay into the lead of this race. Now, still think it's probably a lap or two earlier than when Drake would want to come in for a set of the medium tyres, so maybe as soon as he loses DRS off the back of Jay, we might see him come into the pits. As further back, Dazed Rhombus is working his way up the order. He's up into 10th, has got a bit deep though, but now he's actually behind his teammate. And Chandler doing a very good job on those hard tyres. I wonder how much of that is down to the pace that he's got and how much of it is down to the chaos that we've generally seen towards the back of the order.
Might be a bit of both, you know. Chandler, one of the fastest drivers on this grid in Tier 2. He also races in Tier 1 on the Xbox side as well, so he's had a bit of practice on both. I don't know how he manages it to go from one platform to another in short succession, because don't forget, Xbox Tier 1 will be racing at the same track tomorrow at 8 PM, commentated by Warder and Beacon as well, so make sure you do check that out if you want to see more WOR action in Russia, as Fritzen does get past Dave Rombus again into turn 2, but will Dave Rombus fight back as we head towards the sweeping of turn 3, heading towards turn 4 as well, but he has to stay behind to another driver that's came from the Xbox side, Dave Rombus, 1 point shy of the points right now. I'm actually quite surprised. I thought we'll be getting drivers with loads of penalties right now. Only 2 drivers getting time penalties. Dre Debs with a 5-second and Taz, I believe, with a 3-second. Is this Russia we're talking about, or is it just people being practicing a lot? I think it's people practicing a lot and people trying to make sure that they clear their penalties as soon as they possibly can, as Jonah Martins is having a brilliant run, has been under pressure from Hazard for very, very long as they head towards turn 13. Jonah covers off Hazard quite nicely as well. Dave Rombus tries to do exactly the same thing, heading towards the safe dead corners, and he gets past Fritzen quite nicely up into P10. So we're starting to see some more moves being made as people are thinking about their next pit stops. Quite a lot of people, though, will be getting their tyres to the end, but I've just noticed something here. The clouds are starting to get darker. It's not as sunny as it was at the start of the race. Can we see a bit of rain on the horizon?
You never know. I was about to say the same thing. It's definitely looking more overcast at this moment in time, as Jonah's used up all of his ERS here, and I wonder whether that's going to give Hasif a bit of a chance to close in. The Alpha Tauri was all over the shot, coming through turn 7, 8 and 9, and that is what gave Jonah that opportunity, even with both drivers having a DRS. That's what gave him the opportunity. On that slightly fresher set of tyres, let's not forget, Jonah has been into the pits. He's done one stop. The next highest car that's done a stop is Chandler Sater, about 5 seconds behind him. So Jonah, not in a bad place at the moment. He just needs to try and get dragged along or overtake Pesso and Camille and then see what he can do. But further up, obviously, further later in the race, Drake's now starting to struggle on those soft tyres. Jay's nearly got that magical 1 second ahead. Drake's going to have DRS this time around, possibly have it as well down towards turn number 2 next time, but I don't think we're too long away from drivers starting to come into the pits, as we have got a yellow flag.
Taz.
That is Taz, who's had a spin in the final sector. Not going well for him whatsoever, and he's on his way into the pits. I wonder whether we are going to see Taz, unfortunately, become the 5th retirement from this race.
Yep, he does become the 5th retirement of this race, which means we're down to 13 drivers, which is a bit of a shame. He could have still picked up points. There could have still been a chance to pick up points if there was any late safety cars as well, with the amount of chaos that's happened so far as well. So we've got Drake Dempsey, one of the soft runners. He comes in to the pits then. So he's going to drop quite down from the rest of the drivers. He goes in onto a set of the medium compounded tyres, and he also serves his 5-second stop-go penalty from that collision he had earlier on in the race. I believe it was lap 1, I believe, where he got it from. I thought he would have got it served earlier on, but he chose not to. So he's now in dead last. 2 McLarens that started 1-2, well, they're dead last at the moment in terms of finishes, which is not looking good so far. Your net race leader, Jonas Martins, but your leader on track is JC by 5.4 seconds. But Jonah Martins, he's absolutely flying on track at the moment. Let's just hope that his medium pace keeps on coming throughout the remainder of this race, because if it does, he could be favourite to be winning this race.
He's 23 seconds ahead of Drake Dempsey at this moment in time, who's going to have to try and make up that gap on the same set of tyres over 16 laps. That is going to be incredibly hard. What's going to be slightly easier, but still very improbable, is Jay trying to make up the gap on a set of soft tyres, and I think we'll be seeing Jay come in round about lap 14-15 to put on that set of the soft tyres, as here comes Pesso down the inside at turn number 13 on the Red Bull driver. He's got second place, goes slightly deep, and we're seeing the junior team and the senior team battle here, but Pesso manages to hold on to that car and stay in second place. And of course, this is now what's making it difficult for Jonah. He's third man in a DRS train, and it is always very hard to overtake in a situation like that. Just needs to be patient, and maybe needs a moment like that again. Maybe if Camille goes for a move and gets it a bit deep, Jonah can make his way through, because once he gets through, I'd expect him to be able to pull away from these drivers, but that gap on this lap alone between Jay and Jonah has stretched by about a second. He's really finding it difficult being stuck in this train. And he's not got a lot of VRS as well, as here comes Camille round the outside of Peso at turn number 2. You see that one too often. There's a bit of wheel banging between them. And I think that is going to give Jonah the opportunity to get one of the cars. Is he going to be able to get both of them? He's looking all over the back of Camille at the moment. He's too far behind for a lunge, surely. That is Camille up into second, Jonah in third, Peso losing 2 places in that.
Yep, he did as well. He was in second or third position. Now he's in fourth position as well, just ahead of his teammate Hazif in fifth as well. Hasn't scored many points, Hazif, in this Tier 2 season, but doing quite well in fifth position, of course. He will have to pit later on, whereas Jonah Martins can stay out. Same with Chandler Saito as well, down in 8th position. He will go up the order as well. A pit lane loss is not as much compared to other tracks. We've seen in Imola the pit lane being a little bit longer as well. Jonah's next opportunity to get a move on Camille Statua would be now, but he doesn't get the move done, so he stays in third position. But we've seen, I think, in this race, the moves that he does make are between the turns 2, 3 and turn 4 complex, because turn 1 is not even a corner, it's a kink. Turn 2 is the main braking zone around this circuit, which makes it a lot different compared to other circuits on this Formula 1 calendar. As we head about to start, well, we're on the 14th lap as JC crossed the line around about 6 seconds ago. We'll see. Jonah, he hasn't got much ERS to use, so I wonder if Camille has an advantage as we head towards turn 1, and Jonah using the power, and he doesn't even need to use ERS as much going towards turn 2. He was so confident making the move down, making it stick. He's on with the second place of this race already. We're seeing Fritzen making a similar move to what we saw Jonah do, but a lot later. He gets past the likes of Harlem Marquez and Days Rombers up into P9. Harlem gets past Days Rombers as well, so Harlem is in the points, but he does have a time penalty, so Days Rombers will get P10 on penalties if it stays at its stands. But Jonah just looks so comfortable out there as well. Let's just hope I haven't jinxed him, because the amount of times I said, oh, he's doing well, he's binned it. So let's hope he can keep it on track for the remaining half of this race. We're pretty much on the final half of this race. We'll see what he could do, because we still got JC yet to pit, Camille yet to pit, Peso, Hazif, Maestro, David, they're yet to pit. So that's going to give Jonas a little bit of breathing space, but everyone else will all be on the soft tyres. But we haven't seen the alternate strategy work as well around here, so you never know. We could see Jonah really start to shine as well, but Camille is still catching up to the back of the Aston Martin. Maybe the slipstream is just so powerful that you want to be behind another car, not be the one that's trying to defend.
Yeah, and of course, Jonah, he's got no DRS this time around, and Camille has got about 20% more VRS, so we might see him lose the position here as Peso's the first one to blink in that train. He's going in for a set of the soft tyres. Davidek got a 3-second penalty on the last lap, and more importantly, so did Jay, so that is really going to be costly, as Camille, this is going to be one of the most straightforward passes you see, straight down the inside. He can take the racing line before the braking zone. That is Camille back into second, goes a bit deep though into turn number 2, and I wonder whether that's going to allow Jonah to get a better exit. But for Dersier in turn number 3, pretty much single file through that corner. He has to stay behind for now. Morgan Ball's got ahead of Days Rombers. He is back into the points. Drake's got the fastest lap of the race. And Peso, he's now come out on circuit about 6.5, 7 seconds behind Drake Dempsey. You'd expect him to maybe catch that up on a set of soft tyres, and that says to me, when Jay comes into the pits, he's going to be still, even with the undercut from Drake, he's going to be almost neck and neck perhaps with the McLaren.
Yeah, that's going to be very, very intense to say the least as well. Make sure you watch until the end of the race. The softs being around about 6/10 quicker than the medium compounded tyres. So with around about almost 12 laps to go, it's going to be very difficult to try and get near the front of the pack again, but never say never for the AlphaTauri driver as well, as all that was so close. But Jonah Martins there into that heavy braking zone. He has to stay behind for another few corners, but I'm sure he wouldn't mind that as much as well. I don't think Jonah wants to be fighting that much, because his tyres will overheat very, very quickly and wear a lot as well. But luckily he did not have to fight too much, because his rival Camille is in the pits, and the first of the leading bunch to stay on the medium tyres to come in, as well as Pesto, so they'll be going on to softs. Hazard follows him in, so is Maestro and David too. So these guys will be going onto the soft tyres as well. We'll see where they come out in relation to the best of the drivers. So that just leaves Jay then, the one who has stayed out for most of this race, to come into the pits, and I do believe he will have to serve a penalty as well coming into the pits, or it might just be a 3 second. No, it was a 3 second time penalty that he got as well. So I'm just looking at the undercut. Peso's undercut worked out huge, or would it, as he's going side by side with Camille. They were fighting a little bit, but Peso was just a little bit ahead. It just shows getting the pit stop done earlier than your rivals did help, but Camille will be on fresher tyres compared to the sister team. We'll see how these two fare come towards the end of the race. And Peso's first job is to try and get past some medium runners, and Peso, I think, would have got a warning there the way he did it. We have been told to keep an eye on turn corners around the track. Turn 4 is one of them, so let's hope they don't track extend going into that corner. But JC has pulled that gap once again to 7.6 over Jonah Martins, and despite the fact that his tyres are almost, well, they're pretty much not dead at this point because the tyre deg is little to low at the moment. I have to say he's doing a pretty good job, so I wonder if JC's going to be lightning pace on those soft tyres as JC goes into the pit. Actually, I thought he would have stayed in for a little bit longer, but now he comes in onto those fresh softs. They will get to the end of the race as we're seeing Camille get past Peso up into 9th place, and he's showing that he was very, very committed to that move. And I think we saw Maestro get past Hazib as well. So to the AlphaTauris being passed by their rivals there.
Yeah, both AlphaTauris dropping down the order. We'll see where Jay comes out. There's a fairly big gap, obviously, between Drake and Camille, and I would expect Jay to slot into that on that set of the soft tyres. He's just gone past the pit lane speed limit line now, accelerates out. Will come out quite a bit behind Drake, who did have that 5 second time penalty to serve, of course. But Jay will be hoping he can get in with DRS. He's just outside that window at the moment, and then he can work on overtaking Drake and sending his way up the field. But he's a net 19 seconds behind Jonah at the moment. It's going to take something miraculous for Jonah not to win this race. Pitting under the safety car, starting on a set of soft tyres, pitting under that safety car, as we said at the start, was the right strategy. And that is clearly the way, because Drake, despite all the calamities his teammate has had with the front wing change under the safety car, a few spins as well, Drake is still 6 seconds behind his teammate at this moment in time. And McLaren might still get on the podium. Morgan's on for a podium now, and Drake's tyres will be better, so expecting to catch up to those drivers up ahead. But as we saw from Jonah, it's really difficult to overtake in a DRS train, and at this moment in time you've got Chandler, Harlan, Morgan, Fritz and Dazed Rhombus all in that train for second position.
I have to say, Harlan Marcus is doing a brilliant job in third. Don't forget, he's leading the championship in Tier 3, and he's fighting against the best of the best in Tier 2. I have to say, one of the best performances I've ever seen from someone that's moved up from Tier 3 to Tier 2. And he only had short notice. I think he only had half an hour notice, saying, right, you're going to be racing in Tier 2 tonight. And he hasn't had much practice around this track, because he would have had an extra week to practice for Tier 3. So he's only had pretty much an hour or two to practice, but we've got Morgan Ball, who's looking to pass Harlan Marquez. He could be free abreast going into turn 2. Harlan tries to go on the attack, and he does. He gets past Chandler Saiter quite nicely, in fact. That was a very good move from the Aston Martin drivers, and Aston Martin 1-2 at the moment for these guys. Don't forget, Harlan does have a 3 second time penalty looming as well, so that'll promote Chandler to get his second podium of the season if he stays that way. Chandler, I have to say, impressive performance on those hard tyres. It shows that I'm in the commentary box rather than racing. He's probably struggling on those hard, but to me, he is not. He's absolutely nailing those corners as well. Imagine the pace he would have put if he went onto the medias. He probably would have challenged the likes of Jonah Martins for the race lead the way this was going, but he chosen the hards for a reason. Watch out for him for the end of the race. Could he make it one better and win this race? Well, it remains to be seen. He also sees Harlan Marquez running out of ERS, and I think Morgan Ball could have got past Chandler, but he did not. So, brilliant stuff from Harlan. I have to say, performance of the race so far for pretty much being as high as he is right now on a tier where he shouldn't be in, to be honest, but he's proven that he should be in this tier.
Yeah, who knows, if he keeps driving like this, he might even get himself promoted to this tier, because he's showing he can definitely fight it with the best here in WOR Tier 2. He's going to find it pretty difficult, though, to hold on to this position. Chandler right behind him, just losing out slightly on the traction as Jay sets the fastest lap of the race. He's already got ahead of Drake Dempsey. He's already got himself onto the back of this train. But here comes Chandler Saiter. You got Morgan Ball again, not too far behind. I've got a funny feeling that Harlan might just get himself surrounded here, and Morgan's gone down the inside, cuts over the inside of that corner. There's no way that's going to be allowed to stand, and now it's going to be side by side here between Morgan and Chandler Sater, and that extra grip from the McLaren on the inside line. He holds on to that position, but I'd argue, if I was the other two drivers, he was off track when he made that move. He could not stay on the circuit. I'd say he needs to give that one back, and if he doesn't, as Chandler goes very deep there and Harlan just takes that place back, I'd say Morgan could find himself getting a penalty later on.
Yeah, post-steward inquiries as well. You're not allowed to overtake on track, and don't forget the track limits around this area is looked at by the steward. So I think Morgan Bull will probably have some explaining to do about that if he gets called into the stewards. Meanwhile, JC gets past the Williams driver of Dave Rhombus. Drake Dempsey is trying to cut back on those medium tyres as well. He's actually having good pace on those medium tyres as well, but keep an eye on the battle at the front as well, as Chandler Sater gets past Harlan Markey. Same with Fritzen as well. Fritzen has floated under the radar in this race so far. He stayed out of trouble and he's in P4. JC, all of a sudden, his soft tyre strategy, medium to soft, is absolutely nailed for him. We thought that the alternate strategy wouldn't work around Russia. He's proven with this pace that the alternate strategy does work, and he's not going to be that long before he catches up to the likes. He's even actually catching up to Fritzen now, so he could still get a podium. Dre Dempsey actually gets past Harlem, so it is medium tyres. Actually, I think Harlem had a bit of an off there as well. There's so much battling coming. I don't even know where to look as Fritzen gets past Shanley once again. Dave Rhombus gets past Drake Dempsey as he almost goes off the track again, but we got Harlem trying to fight back as well. He was in P2 a moment ago. Now he's dropped down into 8th position. So like you said, Luke, the pressure is really getting to the Aston Martin driver.
Yeah, as now Jay has managed to get his way past Chandler. Pesso gets a penalty, and you're seeing all this battling going on and thinking, well, surely at some point it's going to come to an end. You've got Camille, Pesso, Hasif, Maestro and Davidek all closing up on their sets of soft tyres, and I feel for Harlem, after not so long ago, we were talking about him possibly getting a podium. I'd say at the moment, it looks like he might be the final finisher in this race, because all those others you'd expect to just be able to fly past with the pace on their tyres. Jay all over the back of Fritzen. This is going to be one of the most straightforward moves you see coming out of turn number 10. Just easy on the traction with that DRS. He is up into 3rd. He's got that 3-second penalty. He's got 8 laps to catch up to Morgan, pass him, and get 3 seconds away. I think Jay is going to do that. So I'd say he's on for 2nd place at this moment in time. Whether Morgan can get 3rd, whether we're going to see Drake work his way up the order, maybe even Camille on his set of soft tyres, because he hasn't got a penalty yet, where he might still end up getting a podium in this race. I'm not quite so sure, but with 7 laps to go and a 10-second lead, all Jonah's got to do is keep it nice and calm at the moment. Don't do anything silly. He should take the victory, but with everyone battling, there's always going to be that little worry in his back of his head. Could we see another safety car here?
I think he's always had this worry for the first 2 rounds, because every time there's been a safety car in WOR, his race is pretty much ruined for Jonah Martins, and he's been able to get the gap up quite a lot, as you can see his rivals battling in the background, as we've got JC and Morgan Bull fighting towards turn 3 then, as JC on those soft tyres, showing why he deserves to be on those soft tyres, and he's into P2 of this race. And I have to say, Chandler covering on Fritzen quite nicely as well, but Fritzen, I'm almost certain, on those mediums look a lot better than Chandler's hard tyres at this moment, as we got Camille getting past Harlan Marquez. So Camille is the second of the soft runners to try and make their way to catch up to the back of the pack. His next target is Drake Dempsey, the driver who stayed out. Drake Dempsey's actually going to try and go for a move past Dave Rhombus as well, and he goes off the track as well by doing it. I don't think that'll be allowed. Surely he'll be allowed to get that place back, which he does. So fair play to Drake there, as Dave Rhombus gets past there. Otherwise it would have been a penalty. So as Drake Dempsey actually tries to fight back, yeah, he had a bit of contact again. Synchronized spin from both of them, and that's pretty much their races ruined. All their hopes are going to be if there's going to be a safety car. But it looked a bit opportunistic for these two, but unfortunately the risk they took didn't pay off a little bit. Gap between JC and Jonah Martin at the moment, 7.4 seconds. So his soft pace looking quite good for now. We're looking at Maestro Hoffel, who could be on with some decent points because of no penalties, and he's going to try and get past He's got the DRS as well. He's got plenty of ERS as well. He won't get past this lap, but the person who's on a mission is Hazib. He could get past Harlem Marquez as well, heading towards turn 2. He's not making it look easy though. As Harlem, nice defensive there on those medium tyres, I have to say. Brilliant job. Those mediums are starting to wear out for Harlem, but he's proving us wrong to show us why he wants to stay until the end of this race. But Hazib doesn't like being stuck by those medium runners. He's got to get past fast. Maybe in the next DRS straight, I reckon.
Yeah, definitely. I think he just needs to rely on getting some good traction at the moment, because Harlem at the moment is still going to be in the DRS of Peso, although next few corners I think should put paid to that. Yeah, Drake's move on Days Rhombus, I think maybe just a bit of frustration with how this race has gone. All of a sudden it was a big dive down the inside. I think Days tried to give him space, just Drake had gone too late, made contact, and unfortunately for the pair of them, they both ended up spinning, which is not something you see too often, as Camille's now flown his way past Fritzen. He's almost onto the back of Chandler Sater, should be able to get him. I'm telling you, this Camille podium shout might still be on here. He's less than 3 seconds behind Morgan Ball, and we might even see an on-track battle for the lead of the race, even if we don't have the penalties, because Jay's...
Sorry, this is free abreast heading into the final few corners as we've had another spinner. Maestro Hoffi, who was looking for points, is not going to get points, and he's collected Days Rhombus as well, so that summed up how Days Rhombus race has gone so far. But you don't really want to go free abreast into there. Someone had to back out, none of them backed out, and Maestro and Days Rhombus were the ones who did not benefit. Harlem as well, who was on for a good result, as retired in the pit, and his Tier 2 debut has not got off to a good start. Maybe he could try and improve himself in Tier 3 and see if he could get a good result there, as Hazib tries to get past the Ferrari driver, which he does, up into 8th position. Penalties could play a factor, as we said at the beginning of this stream. Only 4 drivers though getting time penalties this race. Everybody else are squeaky clean, but they are one warning away, some drivers, by getting a penalty, so they got to be careful, especially the likes of Fritzen, who I think is one warning away, and the tyres are starting to wear off a little bit, and the track temperatures are getting a bit hotter as well, which means the tyres could get overheated a bit more as well, which means more tyre wear. So I think these drivers have got to be on tyre saving, but for Jonah Martins, you just got to keep it on the road, to be honest, and make sure JC stays behind you for at least 4 or 5 laps. And even if JC gets past the final lap, he's got to make sure he produces some great lap times. Peso gets past Fritzen, David gets past Hazib, and 2 of them were easy passes for them. 4.7 seconds is the gap to JC as well. He's looking quite good for a podium at this rate.
Yeah, should be able to get second place at the moment. If Jonah gets a penalty, then this race is really on for the win here, because with 4 laps to go, it's 4.4 seconds. It is closing up at around a second a lap at the moment. Both of them pushing extremely hard. With Maestro's spin, I think Hasif just got it wrong on the brakes and went straight into the back of Maestro, and that sent him round. So such a shame. Might be one again where we see a post-race penalty coming, and Camille already within the DRS range of Morgan Ball, and I don't think 7-lap soft tyres versus 21-lap old mediums, I don't think there's going to be a lot Morgan to do to defend this. But after the way the start of this race went, I think he'd have taken a chance of what could still be fourth place, which would put him tied for the lead of the championship, and he would get it on countback, I believe, from Lenny at this moment in time, courtesy of having a 13th place last time out at Imola. So needs to keep his head up. It's still been a pretty good performance, but don't think he's going to quite get a podium. Camille's going to be on for that 3rd place, and it looks like, unless Jonah gets a penalty, looks like he will take the win, and Jay might just be starting to run out of time to catch up to him. Could be a fascinating finish though. Further down the order, you've got Davidek just within the DRS range of Fritzen, not close enough this time. Hasif on the back of him. A Drake Dempsey, who's now just trying to hang on to these drivers that have got the penalties to gain some consolation. Led for the majority of this race. Looks like the best he might manage now is 7th.
Yeah, David actually gets past Fritzen into the heavy braking zone then, so he's up into 7th place. So the Ferrari trumping the Alfa Romeo as Days Rhombus has retired. That is not a safety car, that's not a pit lane retirement. That is an actual retirement then for Days Rhombus. So he must have lost it somewhere, and I think just after turn 4 as well. No safety car though, because it's far late into this race for a safety car to be called. So this is pretty much a straight gun fight for the lead, for the finish, as we got Morgan Bull and Camille trying to go for P3 in this race, and it looked like it was straightforward for Camille there on those soft tyres. He's up into 3rd place, and he could be on for his best result in WOR. Don't forget, he's a reserve driver in this league as well. Well, if he keeps getting results like that, maybe he could prove to the tier coordinators that he deserves a full-time seat, or maybe a chance to challenge for the championship, as Drake Dempsey is challenging for 9th place, a race which has gone horribly wrong for him, but he can still get some points though, because he is looking quite good on the back of Hazif right now as well. Pesa looking good on the back of Chandler Saiter as well. Chandler not being able to catch up to Morgan Ball as much as he would have liked, but don't forget Chandler Saiter's tyres could definitely get to the end quite comfortably without punch territory. Morgan Ball a bit questionable, so will Chandler get a final move very, very soon, or will Pesa think about it nice and early? We'll watch Pesa then on the back of Chandler Saiter heading towards turn 12 and 13, and I think Chandler just about gets the car great in time, and he keeps Pesa behind him. Pesa's going to go for a late lunge then. Is he going to make it stick? He does not. Chandler, I have to say, on those hard tyres, showing that track position could be key for him in the final few laps of this race, but Pesa is doing all he can to try and get past, even though he's got a time penalty looming under his head right now. He's doing a stellar job trying to defend, so we'll see what he could do then with Chandler trying to defend. So we'll go on board with Chandler then, and that was an easy overtake this time for Pesa. A little bit of a contact there as well. We saw David get past Drake Dempsey and had it up into 7th place, so good point on the board for him, but again he gets time penalty, so Drake will jump up a few places as well. So penultimate lap of this race, safe to say Jonah's looking quite comfortable, but will JC get the move for the lead on track? We'll have to wait and see.
I think he's going to be in DRS range next time around, going down the pit straight and then obviously going down turn 13. And if Jay thinks he can get one of his warnings removed, he's going to definitely go for that. I think why Pesa was so determined to get past Chandler is he's just under 3 seconds, I should say, ahead of Drake at the moment, and that would allow Drake to gain an extra position. So there's still a 6th place on the cards here for Drake. Maybe even more if we do see anyone's tyres really go off at the end of this race. I think you've got that sort of battle between Drake and Peso on time. You've got the battle between Fritzen and Maestro on track as well. The two Alfa Romeos at the moment are fighting, and I think Maestro should be able to get that done next time around on his set of soft tyres. Fritzen is really going to be struggling, and you're going to have the battle for the lead of the race on the final lap. There's only 6 seconds between them. Jonas looks straightforward for getting the victory. He should still get the victory after that 3-second penalty. Out on track, though, I think it's going to be very tough for the Aston Martin.
Yes, it is. A final lap of this race, and Jonah will probably, if I was him, do not fight him, because if you do, there could be a risk of having an incident, and it could be another end to his race, as Peso tries to go past Morgan Ball, which he does as well. Morgan Ball is down into 5th place. Drake Dempsey up into 7th place on the medium tyres as well. I have to say, move on the race on tyres which are older and pretty much harder than the soft tyres. So McLaren's trying to fight back here at the moment, and we're seeing JC closing up ever so slightly. You can see Jonah is not going to be challenging JC ever so much, but it'll be nice to see an on-track battle as we head to the next part of the track, the DRS zone, and it doesn't look like Jonah was going to fight it that much. He knew he's got a time penalty, JC, but he's got to keep within the 3-second window, because otherwise Jonah could lose it. It could be a mistake for him, but as long as Jonah keeps up the pace, he should be absolutely fine then. Heading towards 12 and 13 for the final time, and I have to say, Jonah has had horrible luck since the very start of the season. DNF'd in Belgium in no name. Could have been a win for him. He was on course to be winning that race. He also DNF'd in Imola, but was still classified, but didn't get any points. But today, his fortune was turned around. He could get his first point of the season. He will get his first point of the season, and he takes the win of the race. Due to penalties, JC will come across the line in 2nd, and Camille will come across the line to get his first podium of WOR. Peso will come across the line in 7th due to penalties. Morgan Ball will get 4th. Chandler with an impressive performance on those hards in 5th. Drake in 6th. And I didn't see the rest of the order because they were all climbing up ever so much. But that was a good battle between the top two, I have to say, for the lead on track. But it didn't look like Jonah was fighting too much, and I have to say, I couldn't blame him. Jonah, incredible performance, and what a redemption story for him. Imagine what could have been if he got the win in Belgium. He would have been definitely on top of the championship by now. But that makes it a 3rd different winner out of 3 races. Can we get a 4th next week in Austria?
Well, I mean, I don't see why not. I mean, if you look at the other 2 drivers on the podium, neither of them have even had, well, all 3 drivers on the podium haven't had a podium going into this race, and one of them is last week's champion, Jay, getting the victory out on track there. I don't know whether Jonah was like, yeah, just get ahead of me. I'm not that bothered. I'm driving my own race here. But worked out well for him, and it just shows if you started on the soft tyres, the best strategy was to come in under that safety car. If you just started on the mediums, you might as well have stayed out like Jay did. And went on later on. Jay takes 2nd place, but it is Jonah who takes a win. Not as straightforward as it looked at one point in that race when he was about 20 seconds clear of everyone who had pitted.
Yeah, so we'll run through your order quickly then. So Jonah, JC, Camille, Morgan, Chandler, Drake, Dempsey, Pezzo, Maestro, Hadid and Fritzen are your top 10. David is your final finisher. And then we got Dave, Rombus, Harlem, Taz, Joshua, Mark, Jane and Marcus Tao, who are your retirements. What a race it has been. So much carnage, I would have to say, on the first lap. We couldn't even get going for about 2, 3 or even 4 laps. And once we got going, there was some superb battles as well. We didn't even know which strategy was the best to be on, but like you said, either starting on the softs or going pitting on the safety car nice and early, or starting on the mediums and staying out was the best way forward. And I think Jonah's going to be one happy bunny, and he's going to be definitely one of my nominees for driver of the day. Who would be your driver of the day, Luke?
I mean, I think you've got to say Jonah got it right. Camille as well, just with, I know the in-game driver of the day went to him, but he did a fantastic job working his way through the order, just overtaking the field. And you could say Jay as well, if it wasn't for that, wasn't for getting that 3-second time penalty. If I was him, I'd be looking at every single warning I got in that race and trying to see if I could get it removed at any point. He did a good performance. You could argue every single one on the podium got it absolutely right today with their strategy. Jay obviously had that pace at the end, took the victory out on track. Jonah realised that the best thing to do if you start on the softs when there's a safety car is come in straight away. You got to think if Drake could have done that maybe and gone onto the mediums, could we have seen him near the front at the end of the race? I think both McLarens might be thinking it's a missed opportunity. 1-2 in qualifying and neither of them on the podium, but it was a very difficult race for a lot of people today.
Yes, it was, and I have to say the McLarens were the favourites to win this race, but it just fell well under the radar. Drake Dempsey being caught out for not pitting. Morgan Bull was being caught out in some of the instances as well. But I have to say, Morgan Bull, good comeback to finish where he did and get some points. But I do believe Lenny will still be winning the championship. I believe Morgan Bull finished 5th. We are going to try and see if we could get the top 3 for podium interviews. I would like to hear the thoughts of Jonah, especially after his luck of fortune that he's managed to turn around as well. We'll already be seeing reports in the stewards as well, and I'm almost certain that the move that Morgan did off track, I think a few of the McLarens did off track, will be investigated because we already got some stewards reports already. So yes, we'll find out obviously next week what the outcome of that result. Would it be a time penalty, qualifying ban? I'm almost certain, due to the fact that it's off track and how the stewards were being so strict in terms of track limits, there probably will be a qualifying ban as well. But next week we do head to, well, it was going to be the Netherlands, but due to obviously challenges and all that and people wanted to practice, we are going to be heading to Austria next week. One of the shortest tracks on the calendar, another track, I think I would say more than Russia. You could get a lot of penalties there. But one of my favourite tracks to commentate on the calendar should be a classic one, I have to say as well. And I think it is a driver and fan favourite, Austria, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, definitely. Austria, it's half the track's a DRS zone, is the best way of putting it up. So you see plenty of side-by-side close action on the run, coming up towards the hill to turn through turn 2, into turn number 3, then down towards the braking zone of turn number 4. I think we'll see plenty of overtaking there. And obviously we were meant to have Netherlands. I doubt any of the drivers have put much practice in for that anyway at the moment. I mean, they should all be fairly used to the tracks now. It is just trying to extract that extra tenth of a second, because we saw tonight just how important it can be with how close to midfield were throughout pretty much the entire end of that race. We had plenty of side-by-side battling. I think Fritzen, Dazed Rombus, Chandler Saiter, Drake Dempsey, towards the end of that race, seemed to spend lap after lap after lap swapping positions with other drivers. Absolutely brilliant to see. Got to feel sorry for Marcus Towler, though. Just seen the incident that did happen on lap 1. Fair play to Jane. He's admitted he got it completely wrong. I think misjudged the fact that there were 2 cars to his left and not 1. Cut the gap. and that caused a massive accident, which ended up having a big impact in the result of this race.
Yeah, so to be fair, I have to say, fair play to Jane for admitting to his mistakes, and I'm almost certain that Jane will have another chance next week if a few people can't make it, or if someone from Tier 2 will be asked to race in Tier 1 again. And same with Marcus Towell as well. Strong performance in Imola, but I wonder what performance he could have had if he raced again tonight without the incident as well. But it looked like originally that people didn't even get off the line, but it looks like we don't have anyone going in for podium interviews, unfortunately. So we are going to be wrapping it up there. So once again, like we said, same time next week, 8 p.m. UK time, just an hour after, well, qualifying ends for the Tier 1 guys will be us. But we got Xbox Tier 1 on tomorrow at 8 p.m. They'll be taking the Musher circuit as well. Of course, we've got the other Xbox tiers throughout the week. We've got PC Tier 3 and Tier 5 as well being streamed later on. And of course, we've got PS Tier 1 on at 8 p.m. on Friday. And then it'll be us again at 8 p.m. UK time with Tier 1 making their broadcast once again with Andy and Dan being in the commentary box at 7 o'clock. But good job I rambled up a little bit, because we do have driver interviews with the man of the moment then. Jonah Martins, wow, what a turnaround this week has been for you. 2 DNS, but now you managed to get your first points and first podium and first victory all in one race. How does it feel?
It feels good. Yeah, it was, the last few weeks have been a little bit pain, considering in Belgium, of course, it happened under the safety car out of the lead of the race. And then in Imola, I got unfortunate wing damage, which would have maybe also been a podium with all the penalties. But feels good to be back. Few fast guys missing today, which helped out, and the strategy call at the start was what gave me the win in the end, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Were you a bit worried as well when people were pitting on the softs like Jay that they were able to probably try and overtake you, or were you just focused on keeping the gap pretty much under 3 seconds in order for Jay to not get the win today?
Well, when they pitted, I knew that we were going to be like 20 seconds behind me. But the mediums from lap 1 at the end, they're very, very slow. But in like the overall race pace is probably still faster. But I got stuck in traffic a little bit at the middle part of the race, which didn't help that much. But in the end, I knew Jay was going to catch me after he was through all the traffic. I saw he was catching so fast with the softs, and my mediums were so dead. Like they hit a cliff like the last 5 laps, and I went 2 seconds a lap slower. So it was very hard to maintain the gap. I tried to keep him out at first, but I noticed he was gonna at least get into my DRS, and then I had to try and play a game to get him back on track. But he had too much ERS for me to be able to get him back. So in the end, staying within his 3 seconds was crucial. But in one sector, I don't think mediums are 3 seconds slower. So that was not the hardest, but it was a win in the end, which I'm very happy with.
Yeah, because many drivers at this point of the season, after the first 2 rounds, if they DNF'd in both races, they would give up there. And it just shows that you just never give up at this point, because you could reap rewards like you did tonight. And talking about, obviously, what happened in lap 1 as well, were you expecting the carnage to happen? How on earth did you manage to avoid that?
Yeah, I've heard indeed from a friend of mine that was in Voicia Harlem. There was massive carnage behind. So, and in turn 1 there was as well big carnage. Luckily, I was able to keep my nose clean. I did get a 5-second time penalty for slight contact with Chandler, I think it was, which he unfortunately also spun, which wasn't optimal. But after that, I think it was for him it wouldn't have mattered that much. The spin, because after the pit stops, Morgan Ball had damage, I believe, and I had a 5-second time penalty. So Chandler was back ahead of every one of us. So, and then I was able to drive away with the traffic, of course, which was very helpful. But yeah, the carnage on lap 1 was pretty interesting.
Yes, thank God you managed to avoid that. Luke, any questions for our race winner?
Yeah, congratulations on the win today, Jonah. Next week, Austrian Grand Prix. Is that a circuit you enjoy at the Red Bull Ring? Do you think maybe you could get another podium?
It's Austria, I didn't even know. Yeah, I very much like Austria, so that I will hope to get a good result again. Always felt like I had decent pace there. If I get the right amount of practice in, I think I'll be able to be fighting for the podium again.
Brilliant, and I'll let you go and celebrate with your champagne, which is hopefully something you'll probably get used to very often as well. Fingers crossed maybe you can get another podium, another win this season. Congratulations to Jonah, our race winner for the Russian Grand Prix. Well done. So we are going to wrap up the stream there as well, because it doesn't look like JC or... actually, he is. Okay, so suddenly no one wanted to interview. Everybody wants to be interviewed now. This is crazy. Camille won't be wanting to be interviewed because he doesn't speak that good English, unfortunately. But I'm going to let Luke take this one because I've been speaking too much.
Yeah, so it is the man who finished in second. Congratulations, Jay, on that victory. On that second place, I should say. Getting the win out on track. In the end, that 3-second penalty proved to be costly. Tell us about your race.
Yeah, thank you very much. In the first thing, the 3 seconds, I don't know. I got in lap 6 2 warnings in one corner, but I was 2 times off track, and I think it's fair that I got 2 warnings in this corner. But I'm trying to remove the 2 warnings, and yeah. But the race was pretty much perfect. I stayed out in lap 1 or lap 2, I think, when the safety car came out, and tried to go to the soft in the end, and pace was really, really strong, and I can stay with Drake Dempsey in the soft with the mediums, and got a very big gap to the cars behind, and yeah, can close the gap in the end to Jonah, and yeah.
Yeah, obviously, because of the wet qualifying, everyone did have a free choice of tyres, even those that qualified in the top 10. Were you tempted to start on a set of the soft tyres at any point?
No. I want to start on the mediums because, especially in the end of the race, the softs are much faster than the mediums, and I think it's the right decision that I started on the mediums.
Yeah, definitely worked out for you, and I think for Camille as well, who finished in 3rd place. I'll see if Jess has got any questions to ask you.
Well, like Jonah was saying about Austria, he doesn't mind it that much, hasn't put a bit of practice in because obviously only got announced today that Austria is next week switching round. What are your thoughts around this track? Was it a track that you get on well in the past, or do you think you will be able to put some practice in? And more importantly, can you get the dub next week?
Yes, of course, I will try. Austria is a very nice track, and I got some very nice results in the past on this track, and I had a lot of races on it, and yeah, maybe I will try.
Well, never say never. I have to say, yeah. Jay. I know your performance from last season. You've done quite well, and it's nice to see you back on form as well, and it will help your team in the constructors as well. So congratulations to Jay, second place in the Russian Grand Prix, and maybe challenge for the win next week. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Right, then that's all we got time for then, because obviously Camille doesn't want to be interviewed today. So thank you once again for joining us. Make sure you join us same time next week for the Austrian Grand Prix. Should make for some very exciting races, to tell you the truth. So thank you, Luke, once again for joining me. Well, joining me in the commentary box this week. I think it should be a lot of fun covering this action for the rest of the season.
Yeah, definitely. It looks like there is plenty of drivers that have got some pace. Looks so far that no one's really running away from things, and we saw even some of those that went up from the 3rd tier, like Harlan Marquez, even though it didn't work out well for the end, did definitely put on a good showing. So 3 races into the championship was still none the wiser of any favourites going into round number 4 at Austria.
Yeah, I'm very, very excited for Austria. I hope you are excited for it too. So I've been Jess Games 95, and Luke, of course, has been Luke Etheridge. We will see you next time, 8 PM for the Austrian Grand Prix. Be there or be square. We will let you enjoy the rest of your evening. Goodbye.
Wins at Spa.
It's Martinez in Montreal. David beats Goliath.
It's a true underdog story. John Evans wins at Mexico.
And it's Super Sam Corby who takes the PlayStation Championship.
FRA Ronhard takes his first WOR Championship. He is your Xbox champion.
And Jake Benham is a 2-time WOR champion.
Got me around the outside of Barrage. Line shadow. His contact again, Ronha is around.
Melanie, surely is going to win here at Abu Dhabi. He does.
15 races across 5 continents. From Brazil to Belgium and Bahrain to Britain. Soon this story starts. Across 3 platforms, hundreds will begin the quest. The quest in search of glory and the right to be called a WOR champion. Lights out, and we're racing in Season 12.